Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship, watching the strange lights dance across the main screen. The exploration vessel Harmony's Edge had been sent to check reports of alien activity near the Jupiter mining colonies. Now those reports looked very real. "Lisa, what are you getting on communications?" Jake asked his communications officer. Lisa Parker turned from her console, her brown hair falling across her face. "Nothing on standard frequencies, Captain. But there's something else. Some kind of signal that doesn't match anything in our databases." Tony Rodriguez looked up from the engineering station. "Captain, I'm reading massive energy signatures from that ship. Whatever they're using for power, it's way beyond our technology." Dr. Kate Sullivan, the ship's xenobiologist, moved closer to the main screen. "The design is incredible. Look at those curves and that material. It doesn't look built so much as grown." The alien vessel was huge, easily 3 times the size of their own ship. Its surface seemed to shimmer and change colors like oil on water. Strange patterns of light moved across its hull in waves. "Sir, they're trying to communicate," Lisa said, her voice tight with excitement. "It's not radio or laser. It's something else entirely." Jake felt his heart rate increase. First contact was something every space captain dreamed about and feared. In equal measure, put it through whatever systems can handle it. The bridge filled with a soft, musical sound that seemed to come from everywhere at once. Then, without warning, words appeared in Jake's mind. Not heard, but somehow placed there directly. "Greetings, travelers from the third world. We are the Zephyrians of the Great Harmony. Do not fear. We come in peace and understanding." Jake looked around the bridge. From the expressions on his crew's faces, they had all heard the same thing. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the human vessel Harmony's Edge," Jake said aloud, hoping they could somehow hear him. "We greet you in the spirit of peaceful exploration." The response came immediately, again directly into their minds. "Your method of communication is crude but understood. We invite you to experience true communion. Send representatives to our vessel for the blessing of consciousness." Dr. Sullivan stepped forward. "Captain, this could be the greatest discovery in human history. Direct mind-to-mind communication with an alien species. It could also be the most dangerous," Tony added from his station. "We don't know anything about their intentions or capabilities." Jake weighed the options. The aliens had made no hostile moves. Their ship was clearly more advanced, so if they wanted to destroy the human vessel, they probably could have done so already. "Lisa, scan for any other ships in the area," Jake ordered. "Tony, keep monitoring their energy readings. Dr. Sullivan, what's your professional opinion?" Kate Sullivan had spent her entire career studying the possibility of alien life. "Captain, they're reaching out to us peacefully. They could have attacked or simply ignored us. The fact that they want to communicate suggests they have peaceful intentions." "The signal is getting stronger," Lisa reported. "They're sending something else." Again, words formed in their minds, but this time accompanied by images. Jake saw vast cities that seemed to float in space, connected by bridges of light. He saw tall, graceful beings with skin that glowed softly and changed colors with their emotions. He saw art and technology that made human achievements look primitive. "We are the children of the Great Harmony," the voice continued. "For 1,000 of your years, we have traveled between the stars, bringing understanding to all thinking beings. We have performed the consciousness blessing on 67 different species. All have benefited from the experience." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. The images were beautiful, but something about the uniformity bothered him. Every Zephyrian city looked the same. Every individual seemed to move in perfect coordination with others. "What exactly is this consciousness blessing?" Jake asked. It is the gift of true understanding. Our priest will touch your minds and know your thoughts. In return, you will experience the peace of mental harmony. All confusion and chaos will be replaced with clarity and purpose. Dr. Sullivan looked excited. Captain, think about what we could learn. Direct mental contact with an advanced alien species. The scientific implications are enormous. Tony looked less convinced. I don't like the idea of anyone poking around in my head, advanced or not. Lisa nodded in agreement. What if they can? Read our military secrets? Our technology? Our weaknesses? Jake understood their concerns, but he also understood the opportunity. Humanity had always wondered if they were alone in the universe. Now they had proof that they weren't, and a chance to establish peaceful relations with an advanced civilization. They want to understand us, Jake said finally, and we need to understand them. Dr. Sullivan, you'll come with me. Lisa and Tony, you stay here and monitor everything. If anything goes wrong, you get this information back to Earth. The alien voice returned to their minds. Wise choice, Captain Morrison. Prepare for transport. Our priest, High Veltar, waits to welcome you into the great harmony. Jake felt a tingling sensation, and then the familiar bridge of his ship began to fade away. The last thing he heard was Tony's voice, calling out a warning, but the words became distant and unclear as the alien transport beam pulled him into the unknown. When his vision cleared, Jake found himself in a chamber unlike anything he had ever seen. The walls seemed to be made of crystal that pulsed with soft light. Strange melodies filled the air, coming from sources he couldn't identify. The gravity felt lighter, and the air had a sweet, clean smell. Standing before him was a being that matched the images he had seen. Tall and slender, with skin that shifted between silver and blue. Its eyes were large and completely black, and patterns of light moved under its skin like living tattoos. Welcome, Captain Morrison, the being said, its mouth moving normally, even though Jake still heard the words in his mind. I am High Priest Veltar. You honor us with your presence. Dr. Sullivan materialized beside Jake, looking around the chamber with wonder. This is incredible, she whispered. Your companion has the mind of a seeker, Veltar said, focusing on Kate. She will be a good subject for the blessing. Come, let us begin the ritual of understanding. Jake felt a moment of doubt. Everything seemed peaceful, even beautiful. But something deep in his human instincts warned him that they might be making a terrible mistake. High Priest Veltar led Jake and Dr. Sullivan deeper into the Zephyrian vessel. The corridors were smooth and curved, with no sharp edges anywhere. Everything glowed with that same soft light that seemed to come from the walls themselves. Your species interests us greatly, Veltar said as they walked. We have observed your transmissions for several of your years. Your thoughts seem scattered and chaotic, yet you have achieved space travel and complex technology. Chaotic? Dr. Sullivan asked. I'm not sure I understand. All thinking beings organize their consciousness in layers, the priest explained. First comes basic awareness, then logical thought, and higher understanding. But your transmissions suggest humans think about many things at once, without proper organization. Jake wasn't sure if that was meant as an insult or just an observation. Maybe we just think differently than other species. Perhaps. This is why the consciousness blessing is so important. We will help you understand the proper way to organize thought. You will experience the peace that comes with mental clarity. They entered a vast chamber with a domed ceiling that showed images of space, as if they were standing on the surface of a planet looking up at the stars. In the center of the room was a circular platform surrounded by floating crystals. This is our temple, Veltar said. Here, consciousness meets consciousness without barriers. Please stand on the platform. Jake and Kate exchanged glances. There was no obvious threat, but something felt wrong. The chamber was beautiful, but it was also sterile. Perfect. Too perfect. "What exactly will you see when you look into our minds?" Jake asked. "Everything," Veltar replied simply. "Memories, thoughts, emotions, dreams. Do not fear. We have done this with many species. The process brings only understanding and peace." Dr. Sullivan stepped onto the platform first. "For science," she said with a nervous smile. Veltar moved to stand in front of her. The patterns under his skin began to glow brighter, and the floating crystals started to hum with harmonic vibrations. "Open your mind, Dr. Sullivan. Do not resist. Let me see your thoughts." Kate closed her eyes and tried to relax. Jake watched as the priest placed his long, pale hands on either side of her head. The light patterns under his skin pulsed faster at first. Veltar's expression remained calm and focused. Then it began to change. His large black eyes grew wider. The color of his skin shifted from silver to a pale yellow, then to orange. "What is this?" he whispered. Kate opened her eyes. "Is something wrong?" "Your mind," Veltar said, his voice filled with confusion. "It jumps from thought to thought like a wild animal. You think about your work, but also about food you ate this morning, and a song you heard yesterday, and worry about your sister on Earth, all at the same moment." "That's normal," Kate said. "Isn't that how everyone thinks?" "No," Veltar said firmly. "Organized beings think about one thing at a time, completely and thoroughly, before moving to the next thought. You think about dozens of things simultaneously." Jake stepped closer. "Maybe that's just how human minds work." "But how do you accomplish anything?" the priest asked. "How do you solve problems or make decisions when your thoughts are so scattered?" Kate smiled. "We call it multitasking. It's actually quite efficient once you get used to it." Veltar removed his hands from her head and stepped back. His skin color had shifted to a deep red, and the patterns under his surface moved rapidly. "I must examine another mind to understand this phenomenon," he said. "Captain Morrison, please take the platform." Jake hesitated. The priest was clearly disturbed by what he had found in Kate's mind, and Jake wasn't sure having his own thoughts examined was a good idea. "The consciousness blessing is supposed to bring peace and understanding," Jake said. "You seem upset." "Not peaceful." "I am not upset," Veltar insisted, though his changing skin colors suggested otherwise. "I am simply trying to understand how such chaotic thought patterns can exist in an intelligent species." Jake stepped onto the platform. If they were going to establish diplomatic relations with these aliens, someone had to take the risk. Veltar placed his hands on Jake's head. The sensation was strange, like having someone reading over his shoulder, but inside his mind instead of behind him. The priest's reaction was immediate and dramatic. His skin flashed through a dozen different colors in rapid succession. The harmonic humming from the crystals became discordant and harsh. "This is impossible," Veltar gasped. "Your mind contains layers upon layers of active thought. You are simultaneously planning your next words, remembering conversations from weeks ago, calculating the odds of survival, wondering what your crew is doing, and imagining worst-case scenarios that may never happen." "That sounds about right," Jake said. "But you are also thinking about the temperature in this room, the way the light reflects off the crystals, a joke your engineer told you last week, and whether you should have eaten more breakfast this morning." "Humans are good at keeping track of multiple things," Jake said, trying to remain calm, even though the priest's distress was obvious. "Good at it?" Veltar's voice rose to nearly a shout. "You have 17 different active thought processes, running simultaneously. How is this possible? How do you function?" "Practice, I guess." Veltar removed his hands and stumbled backward. His skin was now flickering between colors so rapidly that it was hard to look at directly. In 67 species, I have never encountered anything like this, he said. Other beings think in orderly sequences, logical progressions, clear patterns. But humans think like a storm, with thoughts branching and connecting and splitting apart in ways that make no sense. Dr. Sullivan looked concerned. Are you all right? You seem distressed. I am a master of consciousness, Veltar said, but his voice was shaking. I have studied the mind for 300 of your years. I can organize and clarify the thoughts of any being. But human consciousness is like trying to organize a hurricane. Maybe you should stop, Jake suggested. If our minds are too different from what you're used to, this might not be a good idea. No, Veltar said firmly. I must understand. There must be a pattern, a way to make sense of this chaos. I will examine more minds until I find the key to human thought. Jake felt a chill of worry. The priest was clearly becoming obsessed, and his distress was growing with each human mind he examined. But there was something else, something that bothered Jake even more. The chamber around them was beginning to change. The perfect harmony of light and sound was becoming unstable. Other Zephyrians had entered the chamber and were watching with obvious concern. Honored Veltar, one of them said. Perhaps we should discontinue this ritual. The harmony is being disrupted. The harmony? Jake asked. All Zephyrian minds are connected, Dr. Sullivan said, understanding immediately. If he's having trouble processing our thoughts, it could be affecting their entire ship. Veltar ignored the warnings from his people. I will understand human consciousness, he declared. I will bring order to this chaos. Bring me more humans. Jake realized they had made a terrible mistake. The consciousness blessing wasn't just an examination of human minds. It was an attempt to force human thoughts into an alien pattern of organization. And it was driving the priest insane. Back on the Harmony's edge, Tony Rodriguez paced nervously around the bridge. Lisa Parker sat at her communications station, monitoring every signal from the alien ship. It's been 2 hours, Tony said. How long does this consciousness blessing thing take? I don't know, Lisa replied. But I'm picking up some strange energy fluctuations from their ship. The patterns keep changing, like something's wrong with their systems. Or something's wrong with our people, Tony muttered. Before Lisa could respond, the familiar tingling sensation filled the bridge. Jake and Dr. Sullivan materialized, but they weren't alone. 2 Zephyrians appeared with them, their skin colors shifting rapidly between different shades. Captain, Tony rushed forward. Are you all right? Jake looked shaken but unharmed. We need to talk. Now? These are Mordan and Kaistel. They're here to warn us. The 2 Zephyrians moved gracefully, but their agitation was obvious from their constantly changing skin colors. One of them, Mordan, spoke directly into the minds of the human crew. Your captain and the knowledge seeker have created a serious problem, Mordan said. High Priest Veltar is no longer stable. He insists on examining more human minds, but each examination makes his condition worse. What kind of condition? Dr. Sullivan asked. The second Zephyrian, Kaistel, answered. Human consciousness is unlike anything we have encountered. It does not follow the natural patterns of organized thought. When our priest tries to understand your chaotic mental processes, his own organized mind becomes damaged. Tony crossed his arms. So the problem is that we think differently than you expected? Not differently, Mordan corrected. Impossibly. Your minds function in ways that violate everything we know about consciousness. You think about the past, present, and future simultaneously. You imagine things that never happened and treat them as important as real memories. You hold contradictory ideas in your mind at the same time without conflict. Lisa looked confused. That's just normal human thinking. Everyone does that. No, Kaistel said firmly. No other species does that. Organized consciousness moves in clear sequences. Memory, then analysis, then decision, then action. But humans combine all these processes and run them simultaneously while also engaging in what you call imagination and humor and random association. Jake sat down heavily in his captain's chair. Veltar wants to examine more of my crew. He thinks if he studies enough human minds, he'll find a way to organize our thoughts. That cannot be allowed, Mordon said urgently. Each human mind he examines creates more chaos in his consciousness. He is beginning to affect other members of our crew through our mental connection. Dr. Sullivan looked alarmed. You mean his breakdown is spreading to other Zephyrians? The harmony that connects all our minds is being disrupted, Kaistel explained. Veltar's confusion and chaos is leaking into our shared consciousness. Some of our crew members are beginning to experience what you call random thoughts and scattered attention. That doesn't sound so bad, Tony said. For beings who have organized their minds for thousands of years, it is terrifying, Mordon replied. Imagine if you suddenly lost the ability to think clearly or focus on one task. That is what is happening to us. Jake stood up. What do you want us to do? Leave? Kaistel said simply. Take your ship and go far away. Do not let Veltar examine any more human minds. But what about your priest? Dr. Sullivan asked. Can you help him? Mordon's skin shifted to a deep blue color that somehow conveyed sadness. We do not know. Human consciousness appears to be a form of mental organization that cannot be understood by ordered minds. Trying to comprehend your chaos is like trying to understand a storm by standing in its center. Before anyone could respond, the bridge filled with the sound of discordant harmonics. The gentle musical tones they had heard before were now harsh and painful. He is calling for more subjects, Kaistel said. Veltar is becoming more unstable. He believes that if he can examine enough human minds, he will find the pattern that makes sense of your chaotic thoughts. There might not be a pattern, Doctor, Sullivan said quietly. Human consciousness might be fundamentally different from Zephyrian consciousness. Evolution took us down different paths. That is what we fear, Mordon said. But Veltar cannot accept this possibility. He has devoted his life to understanding and organizing consciousness. The idea that some forms of thought cannot be organized is destroying his identity. The harsh harmonics grew louder, and Jake could feel words forming in his mind, but they were jumbled and confused. Bring them back, the voice said. Must understand. The chaos must find the pattern. 17 simultaneous thoughts. How is this possible? Random memories, imaginary scenarios, contradictory emotions. Must organize, must understand. Jake winced as the mental voice grew more intense. He's getting stronger. No, Kaistel corrected. He is getting more desperate. The breakdown of his organized mind is releasing psychic energy in uncontrolled ways. He may soon be unable to stop the mental probing, whether subjects are willing or not. Tony moved to his engineering console. Can we block his telepathic abilities somehow? Unknown, Mordon said. Human technology is unfamiliar to us. But we must try something. If Veltar's condition continues to deteriorate, he may damage the minds of your entire crew from a distance. Lisa looked up from her communication station. Captain, I'm detecting massive energy buildups on their ship. Whatever they use for power, it's going into overdrive. Dr. Sullivan moved to Jake's side. Captain, we might be looking at this problem the wrong way. Instead of trying to block Veltar's abilities, maybe we should give him what he wants. You want us to let an insane alien priest probe our minds? Tony asked. Not exactly, Kate said, thoughtfully. But maybe we can use our chaotic thinking as a weapon instead of a vulnerability. If human consciousness is so disruptive to organized minds, maybe we can deliberately amplify that chaos. Jake looked at her with interest. What are you thinking? What if we don't try to organize our thoughts for him? What if we deliberately think about as many random things as possible? Make our minds even more chaotic than usual? That could work, Mordaunt said slowly. If human chaos is what damages organized consciousness, then more chaos might force Veltar to break the mental connection to protect himself. The discordant harmonics suddenly stopped. In the silence that followed, Jake could feel Veltar's attention focusing on their ship like a searchlight. Too late, Kaistel said. He has found you. The forced examination begins now. The attack hit without warning. Jake felt Veltar's consciousness slam into his mind like a sledgehammer. But this time, the alien priest wasn't trying to gently examine human thoughts. He was trying to force them into organized patterns. Everyone on the bridge! Jake shouted through gritted teeth. We need to fight this together. Tommy and Lisa stumbled as the psychic assault reached them. The sensation was like having someone rearrange their thoughts while they were still thinking them. He's trying to organize our minds, Dr. Sullivan gasped. I can feel him sorting my memories into categories. Jake fought against the mental invasion. Veltar was attempting to take the chaotic storm of human consciousness and force it into the neat, orderly patterns that Zephyrian minds used. Remember what Kate said, Jake called out to his crew. Fight back with chaos. Think about everything at once. Tony grabbed onto his console for support. Think about everything? How do I think about everything? Just be human, Lisa said, her voice strained. Think about work and food and music and your family and that weird dream you had last week all at the same time. Jake could feel Veltar's confusion growing as the crew deliberately embraced their natural mental chaos. Instead of trying to organize their thoughts, they let their minds wander in every direction possible. Dr. Sullivan thought about quantum physics and her grandmother's cookie recipe and whether aliens had pets and what would happen if gravity suddenly reversed, all while trying to remember the words to a song she'd heard on the radio. Tony filled his mind with engineering problems and soccer scores, and the way coffee smelled in the morning, and memories of his first day in space, and random jokes and concerns about whether he'd remembered to send his sister a birthday message. Lisa let her thoughts jump between communication protocols and childhood, memories and speculation about alien music, and worry about her plants back on Earth, and fragments of conversations and mathematical equations, and the feeling of wind on her face. The effect on Veltar was immediate and dramatic. His organized consciousness couldn't process the deliberate chaos. The more he tried to impose order, the more chaotic the human minds became. What are you doing? Veltar's mental voice screamed. Stop this randomness. Stop this chaos. We can't. Stop it, Jake replied, letting his thoughts scatter in a dozen directions. This is what human minds do naturally. Through their mental connection with Veltar, they could feel his growing panic. His centuries of training and mental discipline were useless against the creative chaos of human consciousness. Impossible thoughts. Veltar's voice became more distorted. You think about things that never happened as if they were real. You imagine conversations that never occurred. You worry about problems that don't exist. You remember events that have been changed by time and perspective until they bear no resemblance to what actually happened. Welcome to being human, Tony muttered, while simultaneously thinking about mechanical repairs and old movies and what aliens might eat for breakfast. The psychic connection began to fluctuate wildly. Veltar's attempts to organize human thoughts were creating feedback loops that damaged his own consciousness. Every time he tried to impose order, the human minds responded with even more creative chaos. He's losing control, Dr. Sullivan observed, while her mind wandered through theories. about consciousness and memories of playing in snow as a child, and speculation about whether other species had humor. Mordaunt and Keistel watched in horror, as the feedback began affecting them too. Their orderly thoughts were being contaminated by traces of human randomness leaking through their connection to Veltar. "The harmony is breaking," Keistel said, his skin color shifting rapidly. "Our consciousness network is being infected with human chaos patterns. We need to disconnect Veltar from the harmony," Mordaunt said urgently. "But he won't release his grip on the human minds voluntarily." Jake could feel the alien priest's consciousness fragmenting under the assault of pure human chaos. "He's breaking down. We need to push harder. Think about more impossible things," Dr. Sullivan called out. "Think about flying elephants and purple oceans and conversations with your past self and what you'll be doing in 100 years. The crew embraced the absurd. They filled their minds with contradictions and impossibilities and random associations. They thought about serious topics while simultaneously remembering funny moments. They worried about real problems while imagining fantastic solutions. They mixed memories with dreams, facts with fiction, logic with creativity. Veltar Esmental." Scream echoed through the psychic connection. "Cannot organize? Cannot understand? Chaos everywhere. Random thoughts. Meaningless connections. How do you function? How do you think? How do you exist?" "We don't function the way you think we should," Jake replied, his mind jumping between command decisions and childhood games and scientific theories and random songs. "We function the way we do." The priest's consciousness began to withdraw, but not in an orderly retreat. It was more like a collapse, with fragments of his organized mind scattering in all directions. "He's pulling back," Lisa said, while thinking about communication theory and her cat, and whether aliens had cats and what alien cats might look like, but the damage was already spreading. Through Veltar's connection to the Zephyrian harmony, traces of human chaos were infecting other minds on the alien ship. Crew members who had maintained perfect mental discipline for centuries were suddenly experiencing random thoughts and scattered attention. "Our people are experiencing what you call distraction," Mordaunt said, his own voice showing signs of straying. "They think one thought, then another completely unrelated thought appears. They cannot maintain focus." "That's normal for us," Tony said, while simultaneously monitoring ship systems and remembering a joke and wondering what Zephyrian food tasted like. "It is not normal for us," Keistel replied. "We are trained from birth to think in orderly sequences. Random thoughts are a sign of mental illness in our culture." Jake realized they had created a disaster. In defending themselves from Veltar's psychic attack, they had accidentally infected an entire ship of aliens with human-style consciousness chaos. "Can you recover?" Dr. Sullivan asked. "Can your people learn to deal with random thoughts?" "Unknown." Mordaunt said, "This has never happened before. We may need to disconnect from the harmony entirely to prevent further contamination." The psychic connection with Veltar suddenly snapped like a broken cable. The relief was immediate, but it was followed by an ominous silence from the alien ship. "He's gone," Jake said, "but I don't think he's recovered." Through the view screen, they could see the Zephyrian vessel. Its previously smooth surface was now flickering with erratic patterns of light. The elegant curves of its design seemed somehow wrong, as if the ship itself was reflecting the mental chaos of its crew. "We need to leave," Keistel said urgently. "Veltar's breakdown has damaged our ship's systems. The chaos in our minds is affecting our technology." "What about your priest?" Dr. Sullivan asked. Mordaunt's skin had turned a deep, dark color. "Veltar no longer responds to communication. He appears to be trapped in a loop of human thought patterns that he cannot escape or understand. He keeps screaming about noise and chaos and impossible thoughts." Jake felt a chill of guilt. They had defended themselves, but they had also destroyed an alien mind in the process. The Zephyrian ship began to retreat, but its movement was erratic and uncontrolled. The elegant vessel that had appeared so perfect now moved in strange patterns, as if its crew could no longer coordinate their actions properly. "They're having trouble navigating," Lisa observed from her communication station. "Their course keeps changing randomly." Jake watched the alien ship with a mixture of fascination and horror. The chaos in their minds is affecting their ability to pilot the ship. "Captain," Dr. Sullivan said quietly, "I think we need to understand what we've done here. This isn't just about one alien priest having a breakdown. We've accidentally proven that human consciousness is incompatible with organized alien minds." Tony looked up from his engineering console. "What do you mean, incompatible?" "I mean that contact between humans and species, like the Zephyrians, might be impossible," Kate explained. "Our natural way of thinking is literally toxic to their organized consciousness." Mordoon and Kaistel, still on the bridge, were visibly struggling. Their skin colors kept shifting rapidly, and they seemed to have difficulty focusing on single topics. "The contamination spreads," Mordoon said, his mental voice now carrying traces of the randomness that characterized human thought. "Our crew experiences what you call wandering minds. They begin one task, then think of something else entirely. Some of our people are becoming curious about impossible things," Kaistel added. "They wonder what would happen if gravity worked sideways, or if music had colors, or if time moved backward. These thoughts serve no logical purpose, yet they cannot stop thinking them." Jake realized they were witnessing the birth of imagination in a species that had never experienced it before. "Those aren't harmful thoughts. They're creative thoughts." "For us, they are the same thing," Mordoon replied. "Our society is built on mental harmony and logical progression. Random creativity disrupts the social order." Dr. Sullivan leaned forward with interest. "But what if that disruption isn't necessarily bad? What if creativity and chaos are actually beneficial?" "Impossible," Kaistel said, but his voice carried less certainty than before. "Chaos cannot be beneficial. Organization brings peace and efficiency, does it?" Tony asked. "Because from where I'm sitting, your organized society just had a complete breakdown the moment it encountered something different." The alien ship continued its erratic movement, and Jake could see more lights flickering across its surface. Whatever was happening to the Zephyrian crew, it was getting worse. "We need to help them," Jake said. "We caused this problem." "How can we help?" Lisa asked. "We don't understand their technology, and our very presence seems to make the chaos worse." Before anyone could answer, a new voice entered their minds. It was Veltar, but the priest's mental communication was now completely different. Instead of the calm, organized thoughts they had experienced before, his consciousness was a swirling storm of confusion and wonder. "The noise," Veltar's voice whispered in their minds. "So much noise, but within the noise, patterns. Not organized patterns. Living patterns, growing patterns, changing patterns." "He's still alive," Dr. Sullivan said with relief. "But he's not the same," Kaistel observed. "His consciousness has been permanently altered by exposure to human thought patterns." Veltar's voice continued, rambling and scattered, but somehow more alive than his previous organized communication. 17 thoughts at once. How did I not see the beauty in this? Each thought connects to others in ways that logic cannot predict. Memories become dreams, become possibilities, become fears, become hopes, become jokes, become wisdom. "I think he's starting to understand," Jake said. "No," Mordoon corrected. "He is becoming human-like in his thinking." "This is not understanding. This is contamination." "Or evolution," Dr. Sullivan suggested quietly. Veltar's mental voice grew stronger. "I tried to organize the storm. But you cannot organize a storm. You can only experience it. Learn from it, dance with it. The chaos is not a problem to be solved. It is a way of being. The patterns of light on the Zephyrian ship began to change. Instead of the previous erratic flickering, they were now moving, in complex, swirling designs that somehow seemed more beautiful than the original ordered patterns. "The ship," Kystel said with wonder. "It moves differently now. Not in straight lines, but in curves and spirals, like a dance. Some of our crew are learning to work with the random thoughts instead of fighting them," Mordaunt added. "They discover that creativity can solve problems that logic cannot touch." Jake felt a strange sense of responsibility. "We didn't mean to change your entire civilization. Perhaps change was needed," Beltar's voice said, now carrying a mix of his original wisdom and newfound creativity. "We achieved perfect harmony by eliminating all chaos. But in doing so, we also eliminated growth, change, and discovery. You have shown us that consciousness can be more than organized thought." "But what about your social order?" Dr. Sullivan asked. "What about the harmony that connected your people?" "The harmony remains," Kystel said, "but it is different now. Instead of everyone thinking the same thoughts in the same patterns, we share our different thoughts and see how they connect in unexpected ways." "It's still chaos," Mordaunt said, but he didn't sound distressed anymore. "But it's organized chaos, structured creativity. We maintain our connections while allowing for individual randomness." The Zephyrian ship had stopped its erratic movement and was now following a graceful, spiral path that seemed to serve no logical purpose but was beautiful to watch. "We must leave now," Beltar said. "We need time to understand these changes and help our people adapt to their new way of thinking. But we will remember this encounter." "Will you warn other species about us?" Jake asked. "Will you tell them that humans are dangerous to organized minds?" There was a long pause before Beltar answered. "We will tell them that humans think in ways that challenge everything we thought we knew about consciousness. Whether that is dangerous or wonderful will depend on the species that encounters you. Some species might be able to adapt to human chaos, as we are learning to do," Mordaunt added. "Others might be destroyed by it, as I nearly was. Then some," Kystel said thoughtfully, "might discover that they have been missing something important in their pursuit of perfect order." As the alien ship prepared to depart, Jake made a final log entry. "First contact with the Zephyrians has revealed something unexpected about humanity. Our chaotic, creative, multi-threaded consciousness isn't just different from other species. It might be fundamentally incompatible with organized alien minds. The implications for future contact are serious," he continued. "Some species might see us as dangerous chaos bringers. Others might see us as liberators from the constraints of pure logic. Either way, humanity's greatest strength and greatest weakness appear to be the same thing: our beautifully chaotic way of thinking." Dr. Sullivan was already working on new protocols for alien contact, trying to develop ways to communicate with organized minds without causing the kind of breakdown they had. Witness Tony had returned to his engineering duties, but Jake noticed he was now approaching problems more creatively, as if his exposure to the Zephyrian concept of organized thought had taught him new ways to be chaotic. Lisa was monitoring communications, but she was also composing music in her head, letting random melodies mix with technical data in ways that would have horrified the original Beltar Dot as the Zephyrian ship disappeared into the distance, its hull now displaying swirling patterns of light that matched no known navigational logic. Jake realized that humanity had just announced its presence to the galaxy in the most dramatic way possible. They hadn't just made first contact. They had accidentally proven that human consciousness was so uniquely chaotic that it could reprogram other species' minds simply through contact. The question now was whether the rest of the galaxy would see that as a gift or a threat. In the depths of space, Veltar's transformed consciousness continued to explore the beautiful chaos of human-influenced thought, while his crew learned to navigate between order and creativity, logic and imagination, harmony and beautiful, productive chaos. And throughout the galaxy, other species would soon learn that humanity thought in ways that could change everything.